Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. The snow is coming down again. It just doesn't want to leave us alone. But the long range forecast is looking for mid 40s by Halloween, which is only about 6 days away. And then maybe even some 50s along the way too. Temps still a little bit chillier in the evening, but we're going to salvage some of our fall yet. So today on the show, we're going to be talking about the Colorado Blue Spruce. Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. In the sense that I have a branch that splits into two shoots in here, so I'm probably going to cut this thing off right about here this fall. I've taken my knob cutter and I've gotten rid of some of that. So I just put them on the bottom, growing upwards into the bag. We fill it up with trees and then we water as we need to. We try to get rid of those air pockets. Typically, we can work on our spruce trees, and the Colorado spruce is no different here, in the early to mid fall. And now we're in the mid to late fall. Now the problem with Minnesota winter here is that it kind of came sooner than we expected and hoped for, so the temps have been cold. But I'm still going to trim this guy up a little bit and get rid of some of those branches that I know I'm just not going to need in the design of this tree, and then we can work with it next spring. One of the biggest benefits of being able to cut off branches here in the early mid-fall, or in this case mid to late fall, is that we're not going to get a lot of massive bleeding from the sap. My big old tree here in my front yard, I actually trim in the early spring before the thaw, and I get very little sap drippings as well. So this one I'm going to work on. It's a nursery find. When I was at the nursery this past late summer, early fall, there were a whole bunch of Colorado spruces sitting there, and they were for $10. So I got a tree with a nice inch plus thick trunk for $10. And I grabbed two of them right away. So we're going to work on those today and do a little trimming up. Though I'm working on this tree today, I could work on this tree today a little bit with you on tape and then just decide, you know what, I'm going to wait. Because one of the things I could probably gain from a lot in bonsai is to take my time a little bit more. Yeah, we probably all feel that way. We want to work on our trees, you want to keep at it, and sometimes we just can't keep at it because we got to let the tree do its thing. But there's a couple of branches on here that I know are just not going to be worthwhile, and they'll maybe take up too much energy in the spring that I don't want them to. And so we're going to do a little bit of cutting. The tricky part of trimming this Colorado spruce today is going to be the fact that I don't see the early growth from this year. You know, they're on the tips. You know, we've got that new flush from this year out here, and it's already hardened off. It's obviously done growing for the season because of how late we are in the season. But I'm not so worried about that in this early little cutting. I'm just going to kind of try to find what I think might be up front. And then I've got a couple of branches in this tree that are literally straight out like this, left and right. And so across from each other that we know we're just going to maybe not use that branch next year. And we don't want to create too much of a bulge. On this tree in particular, this area right here is super heavy. And there's a couple of thick branches directly across from each other, almost the exact same path across. This one's a little bit lower than this one. Down here, you might be able to see it in here now. These two branches here, almost identical across the trunk pattern here. We don't want that. So if I keep this one over here, I'll probably keep this one over here. So we can go ahead and do the every other pattern. So we'll take a peek at the tree. We're going to spin it around multiple times and just kind of get a good feel for what we think might be the front of this tree. So let's do that first. I recently got a comment from one of the viewers to not stand so much in front of the trees, so I've been very conscious not to stand in front of the trees when I work. It's challenging to work on a tree from behind when you're trying to look at the front of the tree and show you guys at home what I'm looking at as well. Well, I keep working on that. But thanks for the comment. You know, I don't take the comments too personally because, you know, you can learn and grow with everybody's thoughts and opinions. And yeah, how can you see what I'm doing if I'm standing in front of the camera? Thanks for that. So this tree, here's clearance price right there. There you go, $10. Woohoo! This tree automatically right here is leaning to the left when you look at it this way. And look, it's already got a branch that's already weeping down low. but it's kind of a weak, scraggly branch. And what's hard about this time of the year when you're cutting a branch like this off is I can't see the new flush of growth that might be going to be strong next year. So it's super hard to tell that the real soft stuff because it's all in this end of the year cycle where you don't see all the soft of growth. You can find it, and then, like this guy right here is obviously no longer with us, and it's too skinny for a gin. So there's the first decision right there. Too skinny for a gin. We're going to cut that one right off. Got a branch growing straight up in the air. I'm going to cut that right off. So essentially for this, I'm going to go ahead and dig the bottom of this pot out a little bit here. Because I want to see if this is going to flare out a little bit. In which direction it's going to flare out. It already does lean to a side naturally, so that's good. But whenever you got a nursery pot, you don't know if it's going to go down multiple inches before roots start to flare out. Left, right, center, wherever. And so anytime I have a tree in a nursery pot, I'm going to go ahead and dig down. I do this typically in the nursery. Sometimes as well, if I can't really tell. This tree already showed me a nice little movement and a nice little bit thickening nabari at the bottom without me digging too far deep. But I want to do that now. So we're just going to dig down in that dirt a little bit. It's pretty dry. It looks like it's really full with some compact roots. So this one is going to be repotted in the spring. Another reason why I don't want to cut too much of this tree off is because I do plan on repotting this guy in the spring. We'll see how it looks after the winter, see how it survives, see how it's looking, and if I think it's in a good enough situation to repot, I will. So as I dig down here in the dirt, I'm trying to find where this tree is really starting to widen out, starting to show that that wider nabari, where that tree trunk hits the soil, called the nabari. And I've got roots already started here. So let me bring the camera in here and get a close-up for you. And I can show you what I'm looking for in this tree. We're able to look at this tree, and you can see I'm just getting a little bit down in the dirt here, but I've got some root flare right there already. So I've hit that point in the soil where I've got some root flare there. If I turn it too much, we're going to lose some of that light because of the branches here. So we'll turn it a little bit around. So we have a little bit of trunk on that bottom there. And the best way to show it is right there on the right-hand side. We've got that flare going out this way. So that's going about a ½ inch to an inch away from the trunk already, from where it was buried right about here. So I just went down a little bit. It's flaring out there. I'm done digging for now. I think I can see that this tree's definitely got that little bit of movement from right now as you're looking at it. It goes from right towards the left. It leans left. I've been able to spot that nabari section, that root growth, and when I clean this out and repot it, I might go down deeper and find it even bulges out even more. But this tree will more than likely lean to the left this way. The other possibility is leaning to the right this way. It depends upon kind of how that bottom nabari looks. When I actually take it out of this pot, put it in a new pot, I'll decide what direction it's going to go. This one's dead, not doing anything. We got a nice little, this one budded, back budded a couple years ago, I imagine, maybe even this year. But it's getting blocked by all this right here, so this is not going to grow anymore unless we get rid of some of this up here. So we're going to leave that now because we just don't know what we're going to save. So I have a tree that I won't probably do this way. That's a nice, formal upright look. But I want to show a little bit more age to my tree. We're going to show age to the tree whenever we can have that already built into the tree. By having this kind of thickness down here, which is probably a ½ inch thicker than if you look at it this way, that gives it already the appearance of many more years of life. Just that turn right there. So when people talk about finding that front of the tree, we're going to find the front of the tree for a multitude of reasons. We got that bottom of the tree, we got what's happening up top, and as you see this trunk right now from this direction as it goes this way to the left, We can try to make it see if it goes to the right a little bit here at some point, and then look right here, this is going off to the left even more like a curve. But maybe I don't want that up here. I've got this guy right here that's trying to take the lead right now, and it's going a little bit towards us, but we can always bend that over here later. We can see what this wants to do. So we might be able to take this whole leader off here, and now we've already shortened our tree by about 6 to 10 inches there to bring our tree all together, because this is going to have to be coming in. If we want this trunk to be a lot bigger, we're going to let it grow just like crazy. But the more we let it grow like crazy with this width right here, a couple of things would be possibly problems that what I just talked about earlier, is that if we have all these branches growing straight out from each other, all from that one whorl area or that one spot of growth, we're going to have a bulge at some point, and we don't want that bulge into the tree. So I can get rid of some branches right now just so we have it set up to do some better growing next year without worrying of the bulge, okay? And then we can promote that growth where we want it more. As we cut up here and get rid of some stuff up here and cut back, we're going to promote some more back budding. We're always going to promote back budding when we're trimming our tree and getting rid of some of that length. We're going to take that oxen from the tips and bring it into there for some division, or more importantly for some back budding, okay? So of my two trees, this one isn't as healthy. The other one is a lot healthier, has a nicer blue color. This one is a little bit less healthy, so I don't want to go too crazy with this tree. I just wanted to check out the bottom. I am going to cut out a couple of those branches that stick straight out from each other, but I'm not going to do any wiring on this guy right now. I want this tree to survive the winter. I may even keep it in a cold frame, so that's something to keep in mind. When you're working on a tree this late in the year, my most recent video was on the cold frames and making sure I'm getting all those set up. And if you work on a tree, even though it's okay to work on this spruce in the early to mid fall, which for me is mid to late fall, I'm running the risk of it creating too much stress on the tree. That would be more true if I had it in a bonsai pot. A little less true if I have it in this nursery pot. Right now it's still in a ton of soil. I keep this thing good and watered right now, and then it'll survive throughout the rest of the winter, especially if I have it maybe buried in some mulch and stuff and protected from that wind. We'll put it in that vegetable garden area and hope for the best. Or, because I am doing a little bit of work right now and could still be creating some stress, maybe I'll put it in my cold frame, just so it doesn't have any more stress on the tree with a harsh winter. Now with winter already kind of knocking on our door this season, maybe that's something I should think about. Or, you know, it could be in the 50s the rest of November and we don't get a hard, huge cold snap until December or January. We just never know in Minnesota. So whether the tree is going to go to the right or to the left, we can follow up this pattern here, and we can now find that branch that's sticking one right at our face and then two left and right. So this one that's right in our face is going to have to come out unless that's in the back. And so I really have to think which one. I like the shape of the trunk right now, right here, better than the other side. And so for right now, right here, the way we're looking at it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut out this branch right here. So what I have to decide is if I want this little branch in here to be a shari, but you know what? Or a gin rather. But I don't want a gin right there because that is going to stare us right in the face. It's going to stick straight off of the trunk, right towards the camera. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure this is a nice clean cut, and I hope that it's probably not going to bleed a ton this fall here, and we're going to hopefully get that healed up nicely over the course of the next several years, right? Okay, so I have this guy staring at us in the face, and I have this guy staring at us face. So we don't need those branches either. They are just going to be in the way. So I want to get rid of that one as well. I'm going to get rid of this little guy right here. Much smaller scars. Those will darken in color pretty quickly. And so this time next year we won't see those staring at us right here in the camera face. All right. The rest of these I just don't know exactly what's going to happen yet. So remember, I am just cutting branches that I know I for sure don't need, and then this is going to be ready, hopefully, for some spring growth. We got one more, this section up here that has 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me tilt that down to you guys, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's nice is this one's growing up here, and there's one back here. So I have varying heights with other growth back there. They back budded and grew probably this past year. So I have to take a look at this tree again from what I think is going to be the front, right about here. We want Some of these branches can be moved later with wiring, and we can figure that out. This one up here is super thick. So here's a decision-making thing for you guys to consider. So we've got all these branches down here, but they're thin. And look at how thick this is, but it's halfway up the tree. So we don't want this one here. We're probably going to save this one then. But then I look at the tree and say, does this one have some better growth, or does this have better growth? This is a little thicker here for sure. Had a lot of big growth out here. But this one has some nice, fine, it feels really good. I'm going to look at the individual branches and see if it's back budding, and it is. Let's see if I can see these back buds right here. I got a back bud right here in this crotch area here. This is where I get to take off my glasses and take a peek. And trying to see some buds here, some natural bud areas. And I got, looks like one bud in there. There's buds on the tips. So we got to look at our tree to find out if we got some areas where it'll back bud. And I don't see a lot of prominent budding, but there's one here, but it looks like some of these look like they're kind of dried off, so I don't know if they're going to be viable next year. So let's get a close-up of that on the camera and show you guys that real quick. So on this branch right here, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the buds that might come out next year. And so you've got a bud right there. He's right there. Okay? So that's a bud right there. When you bring this branch right here, there's a bud right there. Bud right there, and on this main branch, bud right here. So if I were trimming this thing, worrying about back budding, I wouldn't want to go past that and hope that that would come on out. But here I've got a division of 3. I've got branch here, branch here, branch here. I would probably just take this middle one out, and this one looks like it's got some brown on it, and it's the weakest of the 3. I would take that out. So now there's one of your more basic bonsai prunes right there. Where there was 3, we now have 2. But I have this back bud right here. Then you can go back on the branch too, and look, there's a nice split right here. So this is where the branch splits into 2 naturally, right here. And if I have really good growth right here and here, if I can find some buds back in here, these are going to grow. I could cut this back here if I wanted to shorten this branch. So I've got some good division here, and then good division here, but it's way out outside of the tree. When I show you the pullback view, you'll see that. But in here, I've got all this branch structure in here right now. I've got all these divisions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a lot of growth. I could cut this guy right back here, and I'd have all this growth for next time. But I just wanted to show you those buds. So let me show you that I was just working on this section right here with you on camera, showing this split right here. It's a nice split, and then if this one doesn't split to 2, but this one did. But back here, with all this growth back here, and even way back here, I could cut this branch way back to here and let these guys be my branches if I need to bring this back in. So if this tree has to be all brought back in based on the design someday, I would make that cut. I'm not going to make that cut today because I don't want to cut too much on this tree. I want it to survive for next year. This one is not as healthy as the other one, so I just want to make sure that I'm just making a couple of essential, I don't need this branch cuts for today. So I still have a couple of these that are kind of looking right at us. And I don't know if I'm going to have this tree at an angle like right here. If I were to get this thing right here, might be able to get this swooping tree to the left a little bit. Might even go a little bit higher. But I'm going to decide that when I get to the pot. But regardless of that decision right now, this one is still in my face. And it's got so many other branches around it that could become a branch that we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut that one right out. And I want to cut that one super nice and flush so that one has a lot of healing time next year, and we get rid of some of those potential scars. Now right where I cut, there's a bud right there growing, so you know there's always that chance with your trees that they're going to back bud right where you make that cut. Especially true with your Japanese maples. You make a cut, there's going to be buds there. That bud one time was one of the top parts of the tree, had lots of oxygen, lots of energy. So I've got a couple little buds out here. I got this guy right here that's growing from that spot right now. I don't need that, so I'm just going to pluck it off because I have these other branches. So now I got rid of that branch. There's still this one that's growing right out the front, so if I ever was worried about what I just cut here, this could be bending off possibly this way. We could have some growth that way. It's a little weak. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen with that next year if it even stays alive. So I have a tree that now has this slant. I've cleared up some of the things right in front of me. I've got this right here that's kind of awkward with this tree up here. I don't know what that's going to become. This is big and bulky already, so we have to trim one of these two off. We don't want this to be big and bulky at the tip like this. And again, we've got this nice growth here, but it makes the tree huge. And I've got this growth that's going off this way naturally, so I would probably tend to think about cutting that one off. So as I look at it, right now I got a little movement here, but then it's pretty stick straight here. So not sure how I'm going to be able to do. I'll be able to do a little bit of movement possibly here with some guy wires to make some kind of movement. But it goes up like this, then it goes that way. So it's almost, this going back this way is more appealing to me. And if I wasn't sure, I could cut this off, and what I could do is I could make this a gin. I could strip all this off and make it a gin. I could make the top of this tree a gin too. Just cut all this off and go down to here and make a nice pointy gin, and these other branches would become a leader and grow up, and I can make some movement up here later. I'm not going to do any gins or any of that kind of stuff today. Again, I'm just going to cut the branches that I think I'm pretty confident I don't need. Now, you guys probably can't see this on camera too terribly well, but here's these two branches I'm trying to decide from. There's one right here. Look at this guy right here. He's growing from the center of this tree, but he's weak and small. He's not going to do anything. There's another one back here. Let me turn this tree around for you here. Right back here. Look, there's another piece of growth right there from that same spot. And there's another one. This guy right here. We got this little one and we got that one. Now they're a little scraggly, but again, I do not want this big one here. So that just helps me in my decision. I'm going to go ahead and shorten this tree up a little bit right here. So we'll see what this tree does for growth in the coming year. And then I'll be able to make some other decisions as to which one of these I would keep in the future. So I think I'm done with this tree. I don't want to disturb this tree any longer. I took out the one coming at us, and I still have one, two, a little bit offset. And then there's one a little bit higher in the back, but not much. So this still could bulge at some point if I don't take one of these two out. Now these two still look like a straight arm right now. So maybe I take out this one, and this guy back here can curl around for some back three-dimensional depth type of this tree. So I got a lot of this clunky stuff in the back. Again, some of these are going to go. This one or this one, and then we've got three growing from the same spot right here. I just don't know which one I'm going to keep yet. So I'm going to leave, oh, there's four back here. I'm going to cut off the big one because, again, this big one is the thickest branch on the tree right now, and it's almost at the top. There. That thinned us out a little bit better. You know, and I know I'm not going to need all this length right here. So yeah, there are a couple of spots here I could trim up. But again, I want to make sure that this thing gets through this winter here. So there we have a potential, just a little bit of fall work. Now this is again mid-fall, so I have to seriously consider between now and probably mid-November when the temps start to go down again, I have to decide if I'm going to keep this in a cold frame this year, so it's just nice and protected, even though it's a Minnesota hardy tree and it'll do just fine outside. I'll bury it in some snow or put some mulch around here in my vegetable garden area. Or I'll keep it in my cold frame if I have some room, which you all saw I probably don't have a ton. And we'll see. Let's pull out tree number 2. And what I do with my bonsai trees is I do my research, I watch a lot of other stuff, I read, I've been at a couple of workshops, and then I experiment. Some of the things that I've been reading the last year talk about you have to try and do before you learn, and you make your mistakes along the way, but you're still learning. So I have another beautiful bottom trunk of this Colorado Blue Spruce. And as you just pluck away some of these bottom areas here, there's a big root going to the left already. I'll have to get a close-up of this one too. I got some roots that are coming up a little bit, but I already see without much digging at all where this tree has some of its thickness. But I'm still gonna pull some away. This one's a little bit drier than the other one, the soil. And definitely have to make sure this guy gets some water today. So the bottom of this tree has a similar root that's going from one side. Now the tree isn't angled like the last one, but I've got this root right there. So I've got this really thick part right here that starts to already go down. And this one right here will probably just come off. And as we spin this tree around a little bit, it's harder to see under all these trees, all these pine boughs. But yeah, we've got that root off to the right. So we don't want that root facing us directly in our face, so we know it won't be coming out that way. And it will show some nice possible girth at the bottom of the trunk down there. So we'll be able to maybe have it this way as the front or the other side. So let's take a couple of those peaks, spin it around, and see what we like. Yeah, that could be a really fun trunk. And again, maybe we're gonna have to turn this one this way a little bit. Maybe we're gonna have to, this one's a little bit more straight up and down than the other one, but look, the curve of the tree actually happens from this side, which thins out our trunk view again, which makes it look a little less old, but this one doesn't have as much movement on this side. So I really have to be careful when I'm choosing this one. I have to be careful what might be that front just because of movement. And there is a little bit of movement right here. Just a little bit of movement here. So the root, you can't see the root now from your angle probably, but the root went this way, right down here. And there's a little bit of an indent right here. Now it's not a reverse taper really. It's threatening to be reverse taper a little bit, but it has a little bit of thinness here. It is almost a little reverse taper. This is thinner and this is a little bit thicker. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 branches right out here. We're going to cut 2 of those off today for sure because we do not want any more reverse taper growth there and bulging there. And again, notice this tree has a lot of young growth down here. A lot of thin branches, so for a primary branch, that's really, really thin. Then you get up here, and we've got a super thick one right up here. So is that super thick one going to become a new leader for the tree? Possibly. And we cut the whole trunk right here with a chop wheel. We're not doing that today. And it grows up here, and then we have quite a lot of messiness right up here before you get this top up here. This, regardless of what this tree becomes, this will come off, and I would probably gin this right now or in the future, and I'd have gin here, and that would be the top of the tree, and everything else would start to take shape. And you can tell this one's very top heavy up here and really thin down here. That's not why I chose the tree. I chose the tree for the really nice thick trunk. It would look like it had a decent nabari at the bottom. So we will clear all that out. This one will go through quite the transformation in the coming years. But again, today, I'm just going to kind of guess the front. So this way, that root I showed you earlier goes to the left, and then it does have a little bit of a movement to the right here, and the reverse taper doesn't look so bad. It doesn't look as, it's not as noticeable. Now it's very subtle movement, mind you, but it's still movement in the tree to make it not look quite so stick straight. And if that is the front or this is the front, again, we don't want trees right in our face. What's lucky about this side is if I pick this as a front, there's nothing right here that's really in our face until we get way up here. So that's good. I won't mess with that right now. So I'm going to look at this side as a possible front. And if this is a front, this guy has to come off. Oddly enough, it's one of my weakest branches on the tree with the growth on the outside, and it's growing right in our face. So, and it's one of the thicker branches up top, which we don't need. We don't want that thick branch growing up on top, because if it's thick up here and thin down here, the proportion is all off. So we're going to go ahead and make that a clean cut real close to that trunk, and this is going to have time to heal. And because it's a nice young tree, this is going to heal up. And we won't even know there was a branch here in many years. I love my pine in the front yard. I have a red pine in my front yard, and some of the bulges that were like this big, cut from several years ago, have all grown over that, and you can't even tell it was a cut anymore. And I've noticed some of those grow overs just in the last couple of years, like, oh, that was a branch about 10 years ago, or who knows how long. So there, I took out some of the thickness right there. Awesome, not quite as heavy up there. And again, these branches, we're gonna have to choose the life of this tree down the road. It's got a long way to go, but it's a nice thick trunk. I like this. I'm not gonna spend years developing this trunk into a mondo trunk. I think this tree will just become a medium-sized bonsai tree, and let this thing go and hopefully have a nice developed tree in 5 to 10 years here. I could keep it in the ground and thicken this thing up for another 3 to 5 years and get a really thick trunk. But I'm not going to do that with this. I don't have enough room in my yard. I'm going to go ahead and make this into a bonsai here, or a pre-bonsai at this stage anyway. So this guy is coming out at us as well. It's right straight at us. Really not going to do anything for us. And this high in the tree, this all might come down someday completely. So we just do not need that thick, heavy branch up there. And because it was so right in front of this, with it being a possible front with this direction, I wanted to get that out of there. So now that takes off some of the top heaviness of this tree already as well. So you can see just by this little bit of work so far, we already have a much thinner tree than what I presented with you moments ago. And we can see those scars now, but again, those scars will come just into memories in a little bit. It'll add character and story, like, hey, what happened there? We don't know. Maybe a critter chewed that thing up at some point. So we have a tree that's still wild and crazy. And I want to make sure there's no branches that look like that, right? Straight out branches. And this tree is much better. They don't have exactly straight. There is one right here. There you go. This one and this one. This one's a really nice tree, and it's got a back bud right there, way back down there. So remember when you're cutting trees too, this is the one thing I've learned more than anything this year. If I want this tree to be this big and I start ramifying it now, this ramification, then it'll be this big. You cannot ramify anything from here back if you're ramifying here now, and it's going to ramify. So sad to say, everybody, my camera ran out of space while I was doing all my trims. So I'll give you a little update of what I did do. This was the front I was thinking about with the Nabari, this root growing to the left, and this would be my new front. So I thinned it out. I cut out some of the big major branches, so you got 2 big major cuts there. You probably saw this one earlier in the video. I also spun it around this way in case this becomes the front. And nothing in the front is staring me too much in the face. This is where I cut one up here to get it a little bit lighter in the back as well, unless this becomes the front. So I'm pretty much at the end of the line here of what I was going to cut. So my apologies for that snapping out. I'll go back and look at the video in case I showed this already, but I want to show it to you one more time. What I did with a lot of these branches to bring them in is I went and looked at this branch, and like a branch like right here, do I want to cut all this off? I've got this growth right here. This one's nice here, divides here, it comes out, divides here. I've got some growth here. There's some stuff back here that you can't see. There's some stuff right here. So if I cut this branch right off here, all of this will make this branch back here survive just fine if I were to cut this one off. I'm going to wait on that one for today. So when I'm looking at the branches, that's what I was looking at. I grab any branch here, pull it back. See, there's the one I cut before you probably didn't see. So this one was coming out to here. So I cut that whole branch back knowing that I have all this growth here, all this growth here. There's a couple small ones down here. And again, if I want to, I don't need all of these small ones going straight down. If I were to cut this one right here, I still have plenty of green right here to make this part of the tree survive. If this becomes the new leader someday and I cut this whole big thing off, or it is a gin, I could gin this right here and this would become more of the apex and kind of hide some of that gin depending upon what is the front. So I brought it way back. This was super top heavy before. The sun can get in anywhere in here now. Back here the sun is a little bit more sparse to reach in here. so I may have to cut back a few more of these just to kind of get some more sun in there. But that's probably good for today. So again, the big decision for me is this going to go into the cold frame? So I keep it at a nice cozy 35 to 40 degrees. And then I can take it out in the spring and get it into that sunshine, or do I bury it into some mulch and leaves and some snow out there in the vegetable garden, and then hopefully have that nice spring growth when we're ready to move our pots onto their benches and such. I also am going to repot this in the spring, so I'll want this accessible for me so I can get a repot of this one as well before the new growth gets too crazy and pushes out. So there you have it, two spruces, Colorado Blue Spruces, $10 at the nursery store. If one or both of these dies, I'm not going to lose too much sleep. This is a learning process for me with the few spruce that I have. And so I'm going to go ahead and see how these do with what I did today and next spring and through next year. And we'll do some more splitting up and cleaning up more next time. So for today's Bonsai, I'm Dave Weiss. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one, whenever that will be. And I might even be able to squeeze in an update on this one, but I have to check my tropicals downstairs before I do that update. If not, we'll see you next time. If there's an update, well, hold on just a quick second. Thanks, everybody. On today's update, I've pulled out the Christmas Cactus. So last year, and for the last couple of years, when I bring in this tree, or this Christmas cactus. Some don't think it's a tree yet, and I understand. But this Christmas cactus had about 20 to 30 blooms. It was 2 years ago. Last year didn't have quite as many as the year before. And this year, I brought it in, and within the first couple of weeks of being indoors this year, I got some buds. But all the buds fell off. I have two other Christmas cactuses in my plant room, and one of the other two got 5 buds, a much smaller plant, but it got 5 buds, and they all fell off. So they didn't stay true to budding to the flower until this one finally got a flower here today, or in the last couple of days here. So as I bring this down, there's our one flower from the Christmas cactus. So as I spin that around, you can see again that beautiful bud. A good inch long with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of flowers there. Brilliant red, beautiful coloring. The Christmas cactus has only been inside my plant room for about a month now. I think it was the first part of October. We're only at October 25th, so about 3 weeks. And it's doing really well in here. So the color of red really grabs your eyes, but down here you can see, if you look close enough on this plant, there's all kinds of little new buds for leaves now, foliage that are growing here and splitting. So I'm not going to trim the Christmas cactus yet because it's been inside for about 3 weeks. A lot of the tropical plants will kind of go into a little bit of a dormancy, not like our deciduous trees and our coniferous trees that are native to Minnesota and will go into full dormancy for 6 months, or the varieties that we want to go dormant for, at least 8 to 10 weeks. Well, similar to that, I suppose, is the tropicals. I will leave them in my plant room for a good 8 weeks to let them just kind of relax into the new environment, and they've slowed down. They're not going to grow as fast. Later on, in a month or so, around December, I will start to heat this room periodically, and so my plant room will warm up just a little bit. So there is the Christmas cactus. And my fan that alternates every once an hour, it just kicked on. So I'm competing against some fan noise. But there you have it. The Christmas cactus, the one bud for my update. And I'll put a comparison shot of where I edited this to last time. So I'll do a then and now. We'll put them side by side now for you. And you can see the before and the after with a whole bunch of buds. And then the prune last February or so. And then now what it looks like here in the end of October. So there's the update for today. We'll catch you on the next show, everybody. Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. In the sense Then I have a branch that splits into two shoots in here, so I'm probably going to cut this thing off right about here this fall. I've taken my knob cutter and I've gotten rid of some of that. So I just put them on the bottom, growing upwards into the bag. We fill it up with trees and then we water as we need to. We try to get rid of those air pockets.